Welcome back. Our big focus story is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's bilateral summit with US President Joe Biden. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has held a series of meetings. He's held a bilateral meeting with the Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, with the Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga. Now, on agenda were regional and global developments in areas related to trade, defense, cleaner energy, COVID-19 pandemic. All eyes now on the bilateral with the US President, and then on the first in-person Quad meeting where the four leaders, United States, India, Japan and Australia, will meet. Their big focus, whatever they may say, that it's not just about China. It's about ensuring that sea lanes of communication remain free and open movement across Indo-Pacific. But the gorilla in the room, or the dragon in the room, is actually Chinese belligerence. Geeta Mohan brings you a top story.
The exclusive club of four of the world's top leaders. For the first time, all the Quad leaders sitting across the table. President Biden, Prime Minister Modi will discuss the pandemic response, particularly strengthening the vaccine supply chain, along with climate change and education. Ahead of the crucial Quad summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi met his Australian counterpart Scott Morrison. In the meeting, Prime Minister Modi discussed a wide range of topics, including deepening economic ties between the two countries. Prime Minister Modi also held bilateral talks with his Japanese counterpart Yoshihide Suga. Both are members of the Quadrilateral Security Alliance, or the Quad. And 3 hours before the four leaders meet, the Prime Minister will hold his first bilateral meeting with President Biden. The summit in Washington will be closely monitored 11,000 kilometers away in Beijing. The quadrilateral grouping aims at countering the growing Chinese aggression in the Indo-Pacific region. Quad's target is a free and open Indo-Pacific, unconstrained by coercion. It's an informal strategic dialogue between four like-minded nations to negate China's expansionism. The first in-person summit of the Quad comes at an important time, with the Indo-Pacific undergoing a geopolitical churn. And with Biden taking the lead in hosting it, the United States is signaling its resolve to defend its interest in the Indo-Pacific. With Geeta Mohan in Washington, D.C., Bureau Report, India Today.
And India Today's Geeta Mohan, Anjana Om Kashyap, they're both reporting from Ground Zero. Geeta, I want to understand from you, and there are so many questions about the first in-person Quad summit in Washington, D.C. So this shows United States commitment, but after Afghanistan, how dependable is the United States also with AUKUS, or Australia, United Kingdom and the United States as a military grouping for a nuclear submarine? Does Quad now become secondary, or is it on the back burner?
Well, not really on the back burner, Gaurav, because it is an important alliance. It is an alliance that goes beyond security, and that's why it is important. When you speak of dependence, it is India that has been more dependable than any other country, not just when it comes to regional security, but also for calling out terrorism and those that sponsor terrorism for all times to come, and for a very long time in the past as well, Gaurav. India has been very true to its stand. We've seen other countries dither a little, but this is where the Quad summit is going to take place in hours from now, and the Prime Minister of India will be attending and be participating in one of the most important summits to ensure freedom of navigation inclusivity in the Indo-Pacific region. It's a large area that we're talking about. And Gaurav, we've been speaking about this for a while now. India, as other countries, do not only represent themselves. When they meet together, they're representing all other nations who have been suffering at the hands of China. So yes, in a way, they're looking at how to contain Chinese aggression, but not to become rivals of China, but to tell China that no country over here, big or small, is going to take any other country in the Indo-Pacific bullying the smaller nations. And that certainly is a message that comes across with the meeting that is going to take place here at the White House. We know that AUKUS is a military alliance, Gaurav, and yes, it is a separate alliance. It did come as a surprise to many that these countries were working towards a purely military alliance, but many believe that it is only going to help India ensure that China's aggression in the region is contained. We know that the other country that has absolutely taken on China is Australia, and Australia needed this power, needed this military prowess over China, and so it is advantage India, although we'd have to wait and see whether the theatre has completely shifted from Afghanistan to the Indo-Pacific, and whether if these leaders and the world leaders are going to concentrate on the situation in Afghanistan, because that really impacts India the most, Gaurav.
What's extremely interesting at this point of time, Geeta, is India is a part of BRICS. So you're in one grouping where Russia and China and India are in one group. And then, of course, India is also a part of SCO, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And on the other hand, India is also a part of Quad. How does India balance the two, or will one be at the cost of the other?
Well, absolutely not. There is going to be a lot of give and take, and yes, there are concerns and there are going to be niggling issues. Why? Because Beijing has already come out, Gaurav, and threatened and warned of ramifications if these military alliances and security alliances continue. But having said that, China continues to go on and ally with countries, with leaders that might not be in India's interest. So every country has to look at her own interests, and at the end of the day, China also understands that. But yes, they are riled, and it's not just about the Quad summit any longer, because they've been speaking about it for a very long time. They're now also talking a lot about AUKUS. It is a problem area for China, but it is China's problem to handle. India has not shown any kind of aggression towards any country in the region. If anything, India has been a stabilizing factor. So China will have to now look at how they would want to balance ties and the relations. We know, Gaurav, India and Russia do share good relations.
Yes.
And so that certainly is going to be a stabilizing factor in the BRICS. But yes, we'll again have to wait and see how China reacts to the outcome, because what we're given to understand, and sources in the government have told India today, that there is going to be some important deliverable today that will come out of the summit level meeting.
That's a very important point, because what will be the key takeaway? What is it that every country takes from this table, or is it just talk shop? Geeta, for the moment, many thanks for joining me. I will continue to come back to you through the evening and the night, and India Today will be live through the meetings that take place, the bilateral with the US President Joe Biden, and then this all-important first in-person Quad summit. So it was seen as a big diplomatic victory for India. US Vice President Kamla-Harris called out Pakistan over its terror agenda. Now, during Kamla-Harris's meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the US Vice President, suo motu, on her own, talked about Pakistan and Pakistan's support to terror, asking Imran Khan government to rein in terror groups, and warned Pakistan that terror groups must not pose danger to the United States or Indian security. Geeta Mohan gets us more.
Pakistan has no place to hide. Shamed on the global stage again, one of the most direct warnings to Islamabad from the world's numero uno superpower. The US government on record warns Pakistan over its role in sponsoring terrorism. Our rogue neighbour's terror design extensively discussed during the historic meet between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US Vice President Kamla-Harris. Foreign Secretary Harsh Shringla reveals that when the issue of terror came up, US Vice President Suomoto referred to Pakistan's undeniable imprint on encouraging and aiding terror elements. Kamala emphatically stated that terror groups are working in Pakistan and asked Islamabad to take action against them so that it does not impact America and India's security setup. Kamala also laid emphasis on the need to monitor Pakistan's role in supporting terrorism.
When the issue of terrorism came up, the Vice President Suomoto referred to Pakistan's role in that regard. She said that there were terror groups that were working there and all the need to rein in and closely monitor Pakistan's support for such terrorist groups.
Kamala also agreed with Prime Minister Modi's briefing on cross-border terror and the fact that India has been a victim of terrorism for several decades. But what does this naming and shaming of Pakistan mean for India? Kamala-Harris's assertion is a clear global recognition of Pakistan-sponsored terror. The US government on record has called out Pakistan's terror agenda. Kamala's reaction is a big boost to India's consistent stand on Pakistan aiding terrorism, as well as a big win for India's diplomatic efforts. Despite all the global shame, Pakistan refuses to take action against these terror groups, proving time and again that terrorism is a part of their DNA and Islamabad remains a blockade for world peace. With Geeta Mohan, Bureau Report, India Today.